Hi, hello. Welcome to the episode of Isaiah's Newsstand. It's your host, Isaiah Edwards. The date is May the 28th, 2026. Hopefully this episode finds you well, in good spirits and high hopes. As for me, I'm doing pretty good. Happy Thursday, everyone. Hopefully the day has treated you well, treated you nice. As for me, it's overall been a good day. I will say my sleep pattern has been kind of busted this week. I woke up an hour earlier than I liked, and I was just like, well, I'm just happy I slept like soundly. So let's just call that a W and just kind of hang out in bed. So I did that till my back hurt, and then I got up. But overall, we greeted the day with a smile. We got ourselves together. We got to work. Work was good. It was weirdly busy. I think we're in another situation where it's a holiday and there's more people calling off. So a week that more or less would be slow is kind of a bit more faster paced. So there's that. But overall, it was a good day. We got through it. We got it done. I got out an hour early, actually, which we love. And I went to the gym. I tried to make it short and sweet because I knew I had to do laundry today. So, we did some what was it? Free weight work, some dumbbell work. That felt pretty good. We did some core work, did about 15 minutes on the Stairmaster. Got that done in about, 30 minutes or so. Got in, got out, got home, got the laundry together, and then proceeded to do the laundry. I was very tired at this point, but when I got done wrapping up the laundry, I realized I was down one of my hoodies. And technically this isn't a major deal. I get hoodies for very cheap for my job, actually, which is very nice. I literally have several of the same black hoodie that I just wear in rotation. But it's just annoying for me to lose things. I really hate losing things. It just really gets in my craw. I don't know. So even though this is a scrap hoodie that I really am not going to be missing too much, I was just like, oh, I should go back. It's only a 5-minute drive back. Let's just go back. So I went back to the laundromat and I asked if they had found a black hoodie. They're like, no. And I'm like, of course. I checked the washer. I checked the dryer. Of course, no luck. So it goes. We're down a hoodie, F7. But it was a successful laundry run outside of that. So, clap it up for that. Knock on wood. Hopefully I didn't lose anything else. But yeah, laundry's done. I did get a stretch in. I got my snack in, and I even drank an extra energy drink and an extra coffee because I am very tired. But so it goes. It's been a good day, productive day. But let's go ahead and do our startup and let's get into the news. All right. Our first story comes from CBS News. Fire at girls' school in Kenya kills at least 16 students, injures scores more, government official says. At least 16 students died in an overnight fire that started in the dormitories of a girls' boarding school. A Kenya government official said in the latest such incident to rock the East African nation. Education Minister Julius Ogamba said Thursday that 79 others were injured at the Utumishi Girls' School, which has more than 800 students in the Gilgil area of central Kenya. Excuse me. The cause of death hasn't yet been determined. The cause hasn't yet been determined. Ogamba said authorities would investigate whether the school's fire safety manual had been adhered to. Police said they were leading rescue and emergency response efforts some 74 miles from the capital, Nairobi. Frantic parents were being held outside the school buildings by authorities, according to local media cited by French news agency AFP. The government-owned secondary school is managed and sponsored by the Kenya Police Service. Many of the students are daughters of police officers. Let's see here. I'm just going ahead a bit. School fires are common in Kenyan boarding schools, with some caused by arson and others by electrical faults. One of the incidents they reference, I believe we've covered in the past. In 2024, 21 students burned to death in a school fire in central Kenya. President William Ruto declared 3 days of mourning. So that very unfortunate, sad situation. Condolences to, the families, the people going through that. I was listening to one of the fathers just trying to see their daughter, and not knowing if their daughter was alive or dead. I imagine that'd be a very harrowing thing to go through. But let's move on to our next story. Let's see here from the BBC. The U.S. Justice Department launches criminal investigation into Trump accuser E. Jean Carroll. The U.S. Department of Justice, or the DOJ, has opened a criminal investigation into writer E. Jean Carroll, who accused President Donald Trump of sexual assault. CBS News, the BBC's U.S. partner, has reported. The investigation is looking into whether Carroll committed perjury in connection with civil cases she brought against Trump. We've covered this a bit in the past. Let's see. She had won this case, and then actually we can just read from here. In 2023, a jury found Trump liable for sexual assault. He was also found liable for defamation for comments he made the previous year in a post on True Social. In that post, he denied Carroll's claim that she had been attacked by him in the mid-1990s in a New York department store dressing room. The second lawsuit in 2024 found Trump again liable for defamation in connection with comments he made about Carroll in 2019, in which he accused her of making up the claims against him to sell a book. Let's see. He has been ordered to pay $5 million to Carroll. He has also vowed to appeal another case in which Carroll was awarded $83 million. Now, what they are saying, how she perjured herself, but is that it was revealed in legal papers first filed by Trump's lawyers in 2023 that the co-founder of LinkedIn, Reid Hoffman, had helped to pay for some of Carroll's legal fees and expenses. The issue was brought up during the case's appeal, and the court found that Carroll, had plausibly represented in her deposition that she had forgotten about the limited outside funding counsel obtained. So essentially, she had initially said, hey, I didn't receive any help in funding for my trial, my legal defense, whatever. And they dig through and they say, well, what about this connection? And she goes, oh, I made a mistake. Actually, this person did help me. I didn't, clarify that or categorize that correctly. By this technicality that has already more or less been legally brushed over, essentially the Trump administration, the DOJ is trying to say, hey, you guys fucked up here. Carroll fucked up here, and she should be held responsible. This is yet again another, technicality that they are looking through with a fine-tooth comb and a fucking microscope to say, hey, you are actually at fault here. Trump has been victimized by you in this. And it's like, dude, come the fuck on, dude. It just feels like you're spinning something out of fucking thin air. But I mean, we'll see if there's anything to come of it. I honestly hope not. It is a shame that Trump cannot let this shit go. And that yet again, this is just something he keeps snarling about and blowing flames about. Like, he just can't accept the reality. And he's just like, no, I didn't do those things. And this should go all the way to the Supreme Court and they should overturn it. It's like, brother, it's crazy that you want to keep dragging it out into the limelight, the things that you fucking did. But, so it fucking goes. Let's go ahead and move on. Oh, sorry, I knocked out my mouse. Let's see. Next story. From NPR. Ex-CIA official charged with stealing millions of dollars in gold bars. A former senior CIA official with top secret level clearance is accused of stealing hundreds of gold bars worth more than $40 million from the federal government and stashing them in his home. David Rush was arrested and charged with criminal theft of public money last week, according to federal filings in Virginia, where he lives. From November to March, Rush requested and received a significant quantity of foreign currency and tens of millions of dollars in gold bars for work-related expenses, according to an affidavit from an FBI agent investigating the case. The affidavit says it's unclear what Rush intended to use the funds for, but that a portion of it was found in a storage space near his office. I'm wondering, what would he be using those for? I don't know. Just a guy just holding on to a bunch of bricks, a bunch of gold bars. I'm sure for our national security. I'm sure, of course. Let's see. Federal officials searched his home on May 18th and seized more than 300 gold bars with an estimated value of more than $40 million. According to the affidavit, they also seized roughly $2 million in U.S. currency and some 35 luxury watches, many of them Rolexes. Rush was arrested the next day, the FBI said. The FBI affidavit concludes that there is probable cause to believe that Rush knowingly embezzled, stole, purloined, which is one of my favorite words. I love it. It's just a cool, cute, little cozy way to say you stole some shit. Or knowingly converted a thing of value of the United States for his personal use. The FBI said it was working with the CIA and Department of Justice in its investigation. Rush's lawyer declined to comment Wednesday. It's not clear what role Rush had in the CIA or when he left the agency. He's described in court filings simply as former senior executive service level employee at a United States government agency. Spokespersons for the FBI declined to comment further, and the CIA didn't respond in an email. The FBI affidavit also notes that Rush appears to have lied for years about his education and military background. The Bureau's investigation found he had falsely claimed to be a Navy pilot and that he graduated from Clemson University in South Carolina and Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute in New York. Man, sometimes you just gotta fucking fake it till you motherfucking make it, okay? And sometimes that fucking shit works for you until you're literally flipping bricks into your own home. I think he just maybe got a little too careless, a little too lazy, a little too slick with it. It was like, yeah, I can just leave all this shit at home or leave the shit down the way and it'll be fine, They're not going to come through and bust down the doors. Well, no, they were just waiting for the day and the time, and they did, buddy. They ran your card. But so it goes. I thought this was an interesting story, so I figured I'd blab about it a little bit. But speaking of interesting stories, I love a poly market, prediction market, scamming situation. So I wanted to dig into the story. Also from NPR, a little head-to-head, back-to-back. DOJ charges Google staffer over poly market trades netting $1.2 million. A Google software engineer has been charged with using confidential company information to make $1.2 million on Polymarket in the second known federal criminal case connected to lucrative trades on a prediction market site. Michele Spagnolo, I'm sure I'm fucking that up, 36, an Italian citizen who lives in Switzerland, was arrested on Wednesday and charged with commodities fraud, wire fraud, money laundering, and other counts for allegedly placing bets on search trends based on internal Google data that tracked user searches. Unlike counterparties to his trades, Spagnolo knew the outcome of these wagers before the trading public did because he had accessed Google's confidential, commercially valuable internal data, according to the federal indictment, which authorities unsealed Wednesday. Prosecutors said Spagnolo, operating under the username Alpha Raccoon, placed a number of wagers on Google's most searched person of 2025. He bet nearly $1 million that Kanye West's wife, Bianca Censori, would not be the most Googled person. He also bet more than $600,000 that Pope Leo would not take the top spot. And he placed another wager that the rapper David would be the number one most Googled individual at the time, when most polymarket traders assigned near zero probability to the singer who has been charged with the murder. In all, according to prosecutors, Spagnuolo bet $2.7 million on 25 separate outcomes in the Google search market, netting $1.2 million in profit. The charging documents say once Spagnuolo transferred his winnings out of his cryptocurrency wallet, he removed the name Alpha Raccoon from his Polymarket account. The Commodities Future Trading Commission brought a separate civil case against Spagnuolo for allegedly violating commodities law. Spagnuolo did not return a request for comment. Let's see here. We could do more of the yada, yada, yada. I did find this interesting because, yet again, I know we covered the situation with the person who did the insider trading with the Maduro capture, essentially betting a bunch of money and winning because he knew that that shit was going to go down. He knew that they were going to go for him and catch him. So he's like, oh, yeah, I'll go ahead and just bet on myself. And now that this is, becoming a trend, which is not surprising at all, it really has me thinking. I'm like, so yes, I get that this is bad, but I think that prediction markets, let me say this again. Prediction markets in general, whether we're talking Polymarket, Kalshi, whatever, these are just not good. Like, making them legal the way that they are. And essentially the Trump administration has waved their magic wand and said, hey, you get the green light. You're able to operate in America now. Awesome. But now it is up to them to police themselves, more or less. And in this situation, they're saying, hey, we did a good job. We got one. This is the second time this has happened. And I'm sure there's going to be more people who are going to get got. But at the end of the day, I'm like, how illegal is this part? And like, once again, I understand ethically, morally, this is like, yeah, this guy is bad. Like, this guy's bad news bears. He knew he was doing some bad shit. He took his name off the shit and tried to wipe the slate clean, even though this is being thoroughly watched. People are always policing this whole thing. They're policing it themselves. But at the end of the day, he's like, well, I have this information. I know I can, like, is he supposed to take himself out of the market? Are these people supposed to take themselves out of it? Like, I guess to me, the way I'm looking at it is, unless you're actually setting up the bet, then I don't know or feel like, is that really that illegal? We're in this gray area is what I'm getting at. That being said, I do think that they got this guy pretty dead to rights. I'm sure, going through this, the verdict's not going to be in Spagnuolo's favor. I get the feeling there's going to be more of these to come. And obviously, not just in the prediction markets in this sense, but actual just sports betting. We've covered, a handful of stories already that have shown that it's like, hey, this shit is on the up. Like, more people are on the take to throw games, to edge and fuck up the numbers, for, the benefit of other people so they can make a little bit of extra dough. And I can't blame them, really. Obviously, I know it's fucked up. Obviously, I know it's unethical, but we're all trying to make a little bit of money here. I mean, that's top to bottom, right? So yeah, I don't know. This story definitely had me thinking. I'm sure we'll be getting more of these down the pipe. But anyway, let's go ahead and move on to our last story for the night. We're going to take it to the Supreme Court. But let's go ahead and take our last break, and we'll close it out there. Whew. I was quite parched. All right. Our last story comes from the Associated Press. Supreme Court rules for black death row inmate from Mississippi over racial bias in makeup of jury. The Supreme Court on Thursday ruled for a black death row inmate from Mississippi who claims there was racial bias in the makeup of the jury that convicted him. By a 5-4 vote, the justices sided with Terry Pitchford, who was sentenced to death for his role in the killing of a grocery store owner. In this case, whether due to confusion, oversight, an overly hurried jury selection process, or some other cause, things broke down. Like, oh, I don't know, maybe like prejudice, discrimination, something like that. No, some kind of clerical thing, whatever. Thank you, Mr. Kavanaugh. Justice Brett Kavanaugh wrote for the court. Chief Justice John Roberts and the court's 3 liberal justices joined with Kavanaugh. There were 11 white jurors and 1 black juror in the trial, with similarities to that of another black man on Mississippi's death row, whose conviction the High Court overturned 7 years ago. It's unclear what happens next in Pitchford's case. Justice Neil Gorsuch... Ooh, we had a burp there. Justice Neil Gorsuch, who dissented, suggested the state still argue Pitchford conviction should be sustained. If his conviction is overturned, the state could seek to retry him. Mr. Pitchford is now entitled to a fair trial in the state court. Joseph Perkovich, who argued the case for Pitchford at the Supreme Court, wrote in an email. Doug Evans, a now retired prosecutor with a history of dismissing black jurors for discriminatory reasons, had excused 4 other black people at Pitchford's trial. Black people make up more than 37% of Mississippi's population. So maybe I'm dumb with numbers, and maybe you can't say, well, this always would apply here, or it can't always apply here, whatever. But you would think then about a quarter of that jury should be black, or some person of color, I would think. But no, in the voir dire process, essentially, Evans was like, no, we're going to just have the 1. That's enough. Just a little bit. Just a little bit. And it's like, yeah, I think there's something wrong with that. So I am glad that, because we're going to get into exactly what happened here. But despite all that, at least in this process, they're saying, hey, this is fucked up. We've established it as a precedent. We shouldn't, the jury process shouldn't be this lopsided. It shouldn't be unfavored to a defendant, so we got to fix that. We got to work this out. So I'm happy to see that. But let's continue. The Supreme Court ruled 40 years ago in Batson v. Kentucky that jurors could not be excused from service because of their race, and set up a system by which trial judges could evaluate claims of discrimination and the race-neutral explanations by prosecutors. Pitchford's case focused on whether his lawyers did enough to object to Judge Joseph Loper's rulings, and whether the state Supreme Court acted reasonably in ruling they had not. Pitchford's lawyers made the necessary arguments, and the state high court acted unreasonably, Kavanaugh wrote. Let's see here. I'm skipping ahead here. They do talk about, in 2019, the Supreme Court overturned the death sentence and conviction of Curtis Flowers because of what Kavanaugh then described as a relentless, determined effort to rid the jury of black individuals. Evans was the prosecutor in that case, and Loper presided over the final 2 of Flowers' 6 trials. All right, now let's get to the situation at hand that put Pitchford in jail. Pitchford, now 40, was 18 when he and a friend decided to rob the Crossroads Grocery just outside Grenada in northern Mississippi. And if it's Grenada, then I'm sorry. The friend shot store owner Reuben Britt 3 times, fatally wounding him, but was ineligible for the death penalty because he was younger than 18. Pitchford was tried for capital murder and was sentenced to death. The case has been making its way through the court system for 20 years. In 2023, U.S. District Judge Michael P. Mills overturned Pitchford's conviction, holding that the trial judge did not give Pitchford's lawyers enough chance to argue that the prosecution was improperly dismissing black jurors. Mills wrote that his ruling was partially motivated by Evans' actions in prior cases. A unanimous panel of the 5th U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals reversed the ruling. Evans did not respond to the Associated Press's attempts to reach him for comment when he retired. He was like, nah, I'm out of this bitch, and I don't want to talk about it. I did what I did. He was standing on business, I guess. I'm counting this as good news, at least in the sense of like, hey, we are looking at this shit and saying, did we give this person a fair shake? Did we actually give fair justice, due process, all that fucking jazz? And they said, no, we didn't. And for that reason, we're going to overturn this shit. And once again, it's a rare middle of the road turnaround from this hyper conservative Supreme Court, but you'll take it. And I think for them, that is part of the point, is that, hey, we will throw bones to the people every once in a while saying, hey, we do have a heart. We do actually see the common sense of these things. We do see the error of these things, and we want to actually move with morals and ethics. But then other times they're like, no, we're just going to do whatever Trump wants us to do. We're going to do whatever the conservative thing is, and we're going to opt for that. We're mostly seeing the latter, obviously, but once again, it's just nice to catch a couple of bones. I guess. And I imagine if I hear anything else on Pitchford's case, the fate of it, whether he is going to be released, whatever, I imagine we will come back to it. Now, I know this is like probably the last day for the weekend. I might be hopefully getting back on Sunday, but you never know. The weekend is crazy. Life is crazy. I know that there was an update on the Matthew Perry thing. I wasn't sure if we were going to come back to this. Let me see if I can just kind of hit some highlights real quick before we go. Read a headline real quick. Matthew Perry's assistant, Kenneth Imwasa, sentenced to more than 3 years in prison. I believe he, helped Matthew Perry get the ketamine, injected him with the ketamine and stuff like that. I think it was like 41 months. Then, hold on, let's see if I can find this too. Just trying to hit the Google real quick. See if it pulls up the thing here. That's very frustrating. It's just going to give me pop stuff, which I get it. Makes sense. See if I can find the thing here. There it is. Boom. Okay. Suspect in plot to attack Taylor Swift's Vienna concert, convicted and sentenced to 15 years. This is from PBS News, just kind of ripping that headline. An Austrian court on Thursday convicted a man of planning to attack a Taylor Swift concert in Vienna nearly 2 years ago. He was sentenced to 15 years in prison. The state court in Wiener Neustadt, south of the capital, found the 21-year-old defendant, an Austrian citizen known only as Baron A., in line with Austrian privacy rules, guilty on multiple charges, including those related to the concert. I just wanted to kind of drop a couple of those nuggets there. I know we could also talk a little bit about the Iran situation, that whole conflict. I know Israel is also getting very active in Lebanon, essentially saying, hey, well, if you guys aren't doing anything with that ceasefire for real, then we can totally just, re-engage and keep pushing. And, of course, there's really no one to really stop them there. So I know that is also, an active thing going on. And sadly, I know more people are losing their lives and dying. I just wanted to at least talk about those things just really quick, just kind of highlight them. That's it. That's really all I have for today. Try to just kind of jam back the episode there in the back end a bit. Sorry about that. But if you'd like to help out, support the effort, I do have a Patreon, patreon.com/AzaneNews. Become a newsie today. Speaking of my newsies, I know I shout out Sculptor a lot, and I'm going to try to do this on the roll call, but June 5th, I believe, they are doing a show at Radio Artifact, Urban Artifact. Go get there. Hopefully, I'm going to hopefully be there. We'll see. Knock on the wood. I'm trying to make that shit happen. But, definitely going to be an awesome show. Get to see Sculptor, get to listen to some cool-ass music, get some good-ass fucking vibes. Obviously, check out Nail Amethyst. I'm fucking that up probably. But, shout out to the homies. Shout out to my newsies. Got to show love. But yeah, definitely that's, more shit that you can get on the roll call. Like I said, plug a project, plug your things if you like. But free ways to be up at zanews1@gmail.com. Feel free to follow me or the podcast on any of the socials. Subscribe to the YouTube, follow on TikTok, follow on Spotify, follow on Apple Podcasts, wherever you like to listen. Leave a like, leave a cool comment. Sharing is caring. 5 stars on Spotify, 5 stars on Apple Podcasts are always appreciated. But if you don't do any of that, that's A-okay. I just appreciate you hanging out. I just appreciate you listening. So thanks so much for tuning in. Thanks so much for being a friend. And hopefully I see you soon for some more good news. I love ya. Bye-bye. Mwah.